The problem is that there's a billion or so people that live unelectrified lives completely. And so their source of energy is biomass, right? Wood, right? For cooking fires. And it's gasoline in vehicles and generators. And so we can't neglect the fact that there is a huge contingent of the world that lives an unelectrified life entirely. They're still going to be dependent on hydrocarbons.
And we are too for a long time, because so much of our infrastructure is built around it. And you can see it in the prices. You can see it in the price, right? The market reflects the reality, not these climate targets. If the climate targets were real, we would have much more expensive offsets, and we would have much cheaper. Fossil fuel companies would be much cheaper. So the market's telling us we're in for a fossil fuel future. And if you look at renewable penetration, so we've like doubled over the past decade, but the total energy consumed has also gone up. And so that, even if that curve gets dramatically steeper, we still have a long fossil fuel future ahead of us. And I think we just have to reconcile ourselves to that. And burning biomass, cooking over coal, we have to be very careful here. These people's lives, and there's no better alternative for them. And I think that being concerned about climate can never get in the way of actual people meeting their day-to-day needs. And in fact, I think the electrification story is a leapfrogging story in technology, right? I think what will happen is you'll have people who skip over the entire sort of natural gas stage of our evolution, jump straight to solar, because solar will be cheap and efficient, and you'll go from like burning with like cooking over wood to cooking with solar.
Yeah, but there is a flip side to that as well. One of the arguments I've seen against the reduction in burning fossil fuels is that even if there are changes in the climate, we can mitigate that because we can invest in flood defenses and change the way we build homes and things like that. But one of the things that was never answered that, and one case study alone is if you look at Ethiopian coffee production, it's 5% of their economy, employs 15 million people. They've been suffering a changing situation with droughts and rainfall since the 70s. There's a chance they lose, because they have to basically move up to higher lands.
Altitude.
Yeah, so there's a cost to move. They could lose anything, I think it's 30 to 50% of coffee production in Ethiopia over the next whatever time period. The most well-resourced, so the biggest consumers of non-renewable power sources are also the ones who are most economically advantaged to mitigate the outcome. But it's a global planet. Like we're in a global society, and the things we do here affect other people around the world. All the reports say, whether you believe or not, all the reports say that the countries who are going to suffer mostly from climate change are the poorest countries. But these are the same people who don't like centralization. So are they voluntarily going to go and support these economies? And I think that's an important part of the discussion that's often missed.
Well, there's a tricky element here, because the key to industrialization, becoming wealthy, is it's industrialization, right? And so that's how you become like a wealthy society, is you become able to efficiently use energy at scale, and use that to create modern factors of production and so on. But that involves, in its current model, the current model of industrialization involves consuming a lot of hydrocarbons. And so you get this weird thing where, like, if you look at the COP2, with the climate discussions they had in Glasgow.
COP26, was it?
I don't even know what it stands for, but the big point of contention was around India's commitment to climate targets, right? And there was a lot of gnashing of teeth because India didn't want to commit aggressively, because they felt, the West got theirs. They industrialized from, the 1700s to today, and, achieved this high standard of living, and they have air conditioning and, all those nice things. And then India figured, well, we kind of deserve that too. And so they didn't want to handicap themselves by committing to a lower level of emissions. And so that's sort of where it gets really tricky, is because you get Western countries going to the global South and saying, we don't want you to industrialize. You can't, you're not allowed. We've already emitted all the carbon, and that's enough for all of us,
And there isn't an easy solution, right? This is what gets the authoritarians going, because they're like, this is the mother of all externalities, carbon emissions. It affects people in a kind of diffuse and unpredictable, random way around the world, but it's locally produced. There's no easy way to price it in. You could do it with a tax, but like I already suggested, people will just flee elsewhere. It seems to call for some kind of worldwide authoritarian effort. And that's a non-starter for me. So what do we do? Well, the only thing I can think of is just outside of the government mechanism entirely, and it's to build. It's to build and create the possibility for industrialization that's not fossil fuel dependent.
Change the incentives.
Change the incentives and offer a path to first world wealth and lifestyle that is sustainable, like a sustainable way of living the way we do. That requires abundant energy. And it requires a lot of things, but it requires most of all, a lot of energy that's not high in carbon intensity.